Okay, we're going to make this laser cut skateboard. Laser cut skateboard. Yeah. So we've got 2 bits of cardboard on the top for the board. We have 8 wheels with these functional wheels. They rotate there, and 2 straws as axles, and then 4 mounts to hold the wheels on. Okay, so we're going to make a laser cut skateboard. So click create new design. I'm going to rename this project skateboard. I'm going to change the grid. So click edit workspace. We're going to make the grid 300 by 300. And when we're finished, all our pieces should fit in that grid for laser cutting. Okay, so we're going to first take a ruler and stick the ruler down the bottom bottom left-hand corner of the work plane. And now we have 3 pieces to make. We're going to start with a wheel. So I'm going to grab a cylinder and place that. And this cylinder needs to be 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters. And the height is 2.5 millimeters. The cardboard we have is 2.5 millimeters high, so we need to use 2.5 millimeters for all the thicknesses of our things. I'm going to turn the sides of that right up to make it nice and round. Okay, we need a hole in the center of our wheel. The hole has to have the straw go through it, and the straw is 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters. The height of the hole doesn't matter. You can make that one nice and round as well. And then drag a selection box around both the wheel and the hole. And we're going to use the align tool. So click align up there. We're going to align the centers. So we click on the center, and that puts the hole in the middle of the wheel. I'm going to select both of those things. I'm going to use the group function there to join those together, and that will let the hole cut out the cylinder to make its wheel. Okay, so we have our wheel done. Next, we need the mount for the wheel to go through. So this piece is made from a semicircle and a rectangle and a hole. So I'll get those out. Now, our semicircle needs to be rotated 90 degrees. And it needs to be 40 millimeters by 60 millimeters, and it is 2.5 millimeters thick. And now if you can see, as I move this around here, you can see where it's located based on the ruler, and you can see now at -5 that piece has dropped down below the work plane. So I'm going to make that 0 to put it back on the work plane. Okay, the rectangle now needs to be 5 by 40 by 2.5. And on the ruler here, I'm going to make this semicircle at 0 up, and I can make that rectangle at 40 up, and that will make the rectangle sit on top of the semicircle, and then use the align tool to align their centers. The hole still has to have the straw go through it, so it's still 5 by 5. And it is 10 millimeters high. And we're going to line those all up now. So all aligned at the centers. And then group those. Okay, so I have my wheel mount done and I have my wheel done. Now I need to do the actual board. So I'm going to use a cylinder for that. The cylinder is going to be 80 millimeters by 295 millimeters. And we're going to turn the sides up to make that nice and round. And we want that to be 2.5 millimeters thick. And then we need to cut some slots in that so that the wheel mount will go through. So I get a box that is a hole to do that, and that needs to be 40 millimeters by 2.5 millimeters. And then we need 4 of those. Okay, so those rectangles, we need 4 of those. We need so Control D to duplicate, and then I want this bottom rectangle here to be at 0 high, and this other rectangle to be at 30, so they are 27.5 mil between them. They're still lined up in their centers, so that's right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the grouping tool there to group those. So now they are stuck together. And stuck together, Control D to duplicate again, and then I'm going to put this first set in the bottom left-hand corner. And I'm going to put this second set at 175 and also 0. So they're lined up neatly now, and then I'm going to select all of those and group them together. And I'm going to bring the board back over here, and I'm going to select everything there, and I'm going to use the lining up tool. I'm going to line the centers now, so that those slots will be cut out of the center, and then with all of those selected, I'm going to group those together to cut out the holes. Okay. So I now have the top of the board, wheel mount and a wheel. The only thing left to do now is to make a copy of the top of the board. So Control D to duplicate, put one over there. And now it's in this layer that I'm going to put some text and whatever other shapes you want to put in there. I'm going to put the word Girton in there. You can put whatever you want in there. You can put your name or something else. So text, I'm writing Girton, and I'll leave all the rest of that the way it is. What's that doing? Now I'm going to group that so it's in the center again. No, align that so it's in the center again. And I'm going to make the text a hole by clicking hole there, and then cut that out. So with the grouping tool, okay, there we go. Now you'll have to be careful depending on what letters you have. You're going to have to fix some of these up. So Girton has an O in it. When I laser cut this, the center of that O will fall out, and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a block in here. That block is 1 millimeter wide. The height there doesn't matter. The thickness is still 2.5 millimeters. And I want to line that up so it goes through the center of my O. So when I join that together now the center of my O won't fall out. So if you have a letter with a hole in it, like an A or a D or an O, you're going to need to do that as well. Also going to add a star in there, a couple of Girton stars. So make them a bit smaller. And they're going to be holes as well. Okay, and group all of those together as well. And And that's it. So I now have 2 bits for the top. I need to have 8 wheels in total, so I'm going to make some copies of those. I'm going to lay all of this out as neat as I can for laser cutting. So I'm going to put this in the bottom left hand corner. I'm going to stick this one next to it, and then get the wheel here. You want to make 8 copies of that wheel, so Control D, and okay, last step to get that ready for laser cutting. Export as SVG, and that's the file you need for laser cutting.